Hello, my name is Anuska and welcome to my channel. Now on today's video, I wanted to talk all about vocal tension because I think it's a really important topic, particularly if you are a speaker that speaks for hours a day, hours a week, and has high vocal demands. And I want to shed a bit more light on this topic, when tension is okay and when it becomes a problem. I talk about this all the time: vocal tension, vocal strain, vocal constriction. And so what is really important to understand, first of all, with the voice, is we are dealing with muscle, and all muscles by definition contract and relax. In order for them to function in a healthy way, therefore, some tension is required. If our muscles didn't tense, we really wouldn't be able to do much at all. And at the very least, we wouldn't be able to stand up. So we do need some muscle tension. And as I say, the voice is no different. We have 18 small muscles in and around the larynx that are required for us to actually voice, which is incredible that anyone can speak at all. The human body is amazing. And these muscles have many roles, some of which include closing the vocal folds and pitch changes. So all really important stuff when we're thinking about voicing. So what we're aiming for is not to eliminate vocal tension completely, because we need some tension in the muscles, but just that we have the appropriate amount for the activity and the right muscles are doing the job. Because what tends to happen is we start recruiting muscles that really have no business in voicing. And that's when a lot of the problems can occur. So first of all, I mean, we're all aware that certainly when we're anxious or we're stressed, we can all excessively tense muscle. I know for me, I hold a lot of tension in my jaw, in my shoulders, in my hips. I mean, it's all kind of interrelated, the jaw and the hips anyway. So, but we all have our sort of go-to muscles that we tend to kind of grip when we're a bit anxious or stressed. A lot of people, when they're public speaking, tend to kind of grip their throat muscles again. But when that kind of perceived threat is over, then we release those muscles and we go back to our sort of normal day-to-day living. The problem becomes when that becomes a kind of chronic default pattern and we never release those muscles and they are just permanently in this state of constriction. Also, from a vocal perspective, often when we are sick or we're sleep deprived and we are still having to, say, go out and speak and present, we'll probably feel the voice doesn't work as easily, doesn't work as well. And so we tend to overcompensate and constrict excessively around those laryngeal muscles just to try and get our voice out. So all of this, again, in its own sort of in isolation is okay, because we all do it to some extent. It's when it becomes more of a sort of habitual pattern that it can become a bigger problem. And if we're not able to ever release those muscles. Now, if it does lead into a bigger problem and we find it hard to kind of release those muscles, what can occur is what we call muscle tension dysphonia, which is a very common voice disorder. And essentially, this is an imbalance of the muscles of the voice. And what can either happen is the laryngeal muscles are either working too hard, or they're not really working at all. And the muscles around, the extrinsic muscles, the muscles around the larynx, then start compensating. And a really common example of this is the neck starts to get involved to help bring, say, the vocal folds together, because the vocal fold muscles are not doing their job. And then over time, this then becomes a bigger and bigger problem if we don't know that that's what we're doing. So what causes muscle tension dysphonia? So emotional things, so stress and anxiety are a big factor. Infection, high vocal demands. So if we're a speaker and we're using our voice all the time, but we haven't developed a healthy vocal technique and we're sort of pushing and straining our voice, in time, that is going to cause problems for you. And it could also be compensating, as I mentioned earlier, if you were really tired and your voice is tired. There's often when we're overcompensating when we're tired. Again, if this becomes a habitual pattern, then it starts to create this muscle tension dysphonia. So there are many symptoms that you can look out for, but just some examples here: a hoarse, raspy or breathy voice, a strained or a tight voice, throat tension, a weak voice, feeling a need to clear your throat all the time, instability in the voice, and a pitch that's too high or too low. So if you're concerned about any of this and you feel like you've noticed some persistent changes in your voice, either in terms of how it feels or that sort of sound, perhaps you've been listening to yourself in a recording and you're hearing things that you hadn't previously heard, please go and get scoped. It's just the only way to really know what's going on. We can only get so far by listening. There's so many reasons why we could have certain symptoms in the voice. So always go and get scoped if you're in any doubt. But the vast majority of you might experience some of those perhaps in a more mild way, or they might come and go. And that's where voice training is so important, because what voice training does is it teaches you how to balance the voice, how to access the muscles that are really designed to voice, and how to release the muscles that really have no business in voicing. And that's when your voice is really going to work. It's really going to allow you to speak for hours without strain, without tension, without constriction. And it really just allows that true, authentic voice to come out, because you're not being hindered by any of those symptoms that I just mentioned. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this has really helped. As always, please do make any comments or ask me any questions below. I'd love to know if you found this video helpful. And also, if you enjoyed this video, please do like, share and subscribe. But until my next video, I will see you then.